All right. So mini camp has gone by. We've had the weekend to think about it. And I have my 5 favorite things to have come out of Browns mini camp. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about that I have enjoyed about the mini camp period is this. Quarterbacks look good. You know, the quarterbacks don't look amazing. I'm not saying that the Browns are going to win 13 games this year because our quarterback play is going to be at the top of the league. But hey, looks better than last year. And I know that's a bar that's lower than low, but man, I'll take it. I will simply take it. It is a step forward and a step forward, especially when you're not spending a ton of money on it, is a step I will be more than willing to take because I'm at least walking into training camp with hope at the quarterback position. I talked about this more in my video I did at the end of minicamp, but man, much rather be in that place than in the hopeless place we all were in the middle of the season last year, where we were just kind of on autopilot until Deshaun Watson was benched. And unfortunately, Deshaun Watson didn't get benched. He tore his Achilles, which ended up being an uglier thing than if he had just simply gotten benched after the Philadelphia game. So anything that moves us away and beyond that quarterback situation last year, which was just ugly, is positive to me and something that I am simply looking forward to. So I like that. Another thing that I have seen is how Quinshon Judkins looks athletically, right? Because that's the big question about Quinshon. Are those athletic gifts that he showed at the combine, is that who he is, right? Because there are a couple of clips that you can show on Judkins where he gets chased down and you don't think he should have been chased down, or it looks like he slows down and you're wondering what exactly is going on there. Then you see him at the combine and he runs incredible. You know, he puts up some incredible numbers at the combine. Especially for a guy that's his size, right? Like he put up similar numbers to Travion Henderson, who we all know is a super athlete, while also being like 20 pounds heavier. And you watch him at practice and you see that athletic ability. He is as quick as a cat. He covers a lot of ground in his jump cut. Really big guy, like the size. He's NFL sized. And it's like if the Browns sell tickets to camp, or hopefully they don't sell these tickets, but if the Browns give those tickets to camp away, you get to go. One of my favorite things to do is just realize how big running backs are. If you get real up, well, not real up close, don't invade somebody's personal space. But if you're able to get close enough to any of the running backs, just look at how much wider Quinshon Judkins is than like anybody else in that room, than like Jerome Ford. And you'll see what I mean when I say he's NFL sized already. So super excited that Quinn looks ready to go. And you know, that athletic ability seems like it's there. I'm hoping that this is a home run for the Cleveland Browns, because when you draft the running back in the second round, you kind of got to hit a home run there. And the Browns are in a situation where they got a lot of carries to give out, but not a lot of running backs to give the ball to. So they're really going to rely on Quinshon to be a very effective piece for them, especially with what they want to do. And you know, so far, no pads, right? Can't really tell too much, but what we've seen, I'm a fan of. He looks like he fits the role of a starting NFL running back athletically and size-wise. And right now, that's all we can really judge, right? Until we really see him put some pads on and play against people who aren't wearing orange helmets, right? You know, you got to see him against other teams. All right, the next thing that I like, it's kind of a group thing, but one, saw this clip of Myles Garrett. And I want you guys to understand that I don't know what the Browns have Myles Garrett listed as on their website. Let me double check that. But I believe they have Myles Garrett listed at like 270 pounds or something ridiculously inaccurate. like that. Let's see. Let's find where Myles Garrett is listed here. 95 on the roster. And they have Myles Garrett listed at 272 pounds. I can't tell you how wrong that is, right? It's right here on the phone. Myles Garrett, 272 pounds. That's about what he weighed at the combine. I'm going to show a picture of Myles Garrett at the combine. I'm going to show a picture of Myles Garrett today. You tell me if you think both those people are 272 pounds. Myles Garrett is easily 300-something pounds right now. Easily 300 pounds. Right. Like if he ever does a side-by-side with Mason Graham, I think this will hit the point home because he'd be like bigger than Mason Graham. Like just all around, just bigger than Mason Graham. Not just taller, but bigger than Mason Graham. Mason Graham's about 315 pounds. So Myles Garrett's probably like 307, 310, maybe even 315. And look how fast he's moving. I thought this video was in 2x speed until I saw that trainer walk by normally. Right there. He looks faster. He looks bigger. He looks stronger. Bigger, stronger, faster Myles Garrett. It's always a scary thought. There's been a lot of talk inside the building about how this is going to be the best year of Myles Garrett's career. Like that's something that I've heard Jim Schwartz say. It's something that you've heard multiple people on the Cleveland Browns say and Myles Garrett himself say. All right, I'm looking forward to that. Right. So that's one thing. You know, Myles didn't really do much in camp because who cares what Myles does in mini camp, right? Like he's Myles Garrett. He's going to be good. But what I do like is that everybody is passing the OTAs test, right? You watch him, you look at Myles Garrett and you say to yourself, hey, that guy looks bigger, faster, stronger. Okay, that's exactly what you want to be saying about Myles Garrett after OTAs. You see DeJuan Jones and you're like, hey, that guy looks like he lost the weight that he needed to, and he came back healthy from that injury. That's exactly where we want to be at with DeJuan Jones, right? You look at the rookies and you're like, okay, these guys fit the part. You know, this guy looks like he could play, and you know he looks like he's going to fit the role there. Maybe there's a lot that he needs to learn, but that's what training camp is for. So there's that. And everybody's passing to. I saw Martin Emerson make some plays, Denzel Ward making plays, right? Like you saw enough out of the main people that you needed to feel like everybody's showing up, right? Jerry Jeudy made some plays. You saw David Njoku. Harold Fainen apparently has been making plays every day. And you know what? They're passing the OTAs test. Everybody that you're wanting to pass it, pass it. We don't think about this. We're not having an OTA filled of, man, that guy came in overweight. Man, that guy doesn't have a contract. Man, this guy doesn't seem like he wants to be there. Man, Jerry Jeudy seems slower than he did last year in these clips. Like, we're not having any of these controversies. All of these controversies have been about how good people have looked and debating just how good have they looked, right? Is Shador really that good? Is he look that good? Are the rookies really looking that good in camp at quarterback? Is Jerry Jeudy, man, he looks like he's ready to have another breakout year. Like these are all positive headlines coming out of camp. And that's just good news, right? That's where you want to be at. Doesn't guarantee that it's going to carry over into training camp or to the regular season, obviously, but it's just where you want to be at this point in the calendar. And I'm happy that we're at that point. This is another point to add to that point. The vibes are simply way better right now than they were last year. Like last year, after OTAs, you started to get this weird feeling of like, no, something ain't right, right? There were a couple of times where Deshaun Watson got shut down and just like they stopped having him practice in the middle of OTAs. And then like they had to act like it was nothing. But like, was it? You know, there was a lot of speculation there. People watching the practices saying that it doesn't look like they're getting much done because things are always having to be shut down and restarted. And then you get this practice and it just feels like everything's just happening the way it's supposed to. Doesn't feel like there's any friction there like it was last year. And honestly, you can just see it on the players. Like everybody just feel like there's like a burden been lifted off of them. And maybe that's the burden of whatever was going on with the team last year. Maybe it's all Deshaun Watson's presence just not being there. But it seems like this team has a burden lift off their shoulders. And I feel like this is going to be a more close to normal season for this team than last year. The last thing that I have loved about the minicamp period, the pace and competitive tone that has been set that feels like a framework for a more competitive physical training camp. I have watched a lot of Browns training camp over the years. I have watched more than any other Browns coach Kevin Stefanski training camps. I've been to these practices multiple times. And it's always frustrated me. While I understand this is where the league is going in some respects, it's always frustrated me, the lax tone of a Kevin Stefanski camp. Now, there's some years where he has that lax tone. The team wins 11 games 2 times, right? 2023 camp wasn't very physical. I complained about it. I complained about how they handled the preseason. They were fine. 2020 training camp, I thought that was actually pretty solid. I thought that was a pretty solid one. That was the year where they streamed the whole training camp. I actually like how they handled the camp that year. It was pretty physical. They were a pretty good team that year. You know, I just like that they're setting this tone. I just like that they're making it clear that they want to be a smash mouth football team, and they're doing the work necessary to set that up for themselves. We'll see if they're successful at doing it, but I appreciate the extent and the effort that they've gone through. I've seen more 11-on-11s, like 2 days of practice, than I saw for like all of OTAs last year. Love that. Love that. I appreciate that. The Browns moved on from a lot of their old training staff. Maybe that's giving them new confidence that they can do this stuff without getting injured, or maybe they have a new injury directive, right? Or injury avoidance directive, which doesn't include being so shut down on practices. But either way, I like that the Browns have done more team stuff. They're not doing this silly, secretive stuff that they were starting to get into last year where they were trying to hide formation. I just want to go off on a quick rant about that. I hate when coaches do that, and I hate when people co-sign it for these coaches. Like every once in a while, this happens a lot with Baltimore and Pittsburgh, where these coaches will have like these rules where you can't write about formations, or they just won't do certain formations in front of the media. And like during a game week, I can understand that kind of caution being used. But like OTAs and training camp, it's really silly, because nothing that you do in OTAs and training camp is going to be confidential, because you're going to keep 50 guys probably that are on the roster, right? Like 53 guys, but maybe you pick up a couple of guys from some other teams. So like 50 dudes on that roster of 93 right now are going to make the team. Everybody else is going to go everywhere else. So everything you do in training camp is going to get to all 32 teams eventually. Especially if you're pulling out like trick plays and all this garbage. Anything that you do in training camp is going to eventually get around. And here's the secret about football, guys. There's not that much new under the sun. Like, that's why they call it the copycat league, because everybody's running the same stuff, right? There's only so many ways you can run bench. There's only so many ways you can run smash. There's only so many ways you can run, a backside dig and dagger. Like, there's only so many ways you can run the passing concepts that every playbook has. There's only so many ways that you can get into it. And the only times where you're going to really be like customizing some things is when it's game plan specific, and you're just not doing any of that stuff in training camp. So I hate when coaches get super secretive about this kind of stuff, because I think all it does is just waste time. You're going to take less team snaps because you don't want the public to see these very basic formations. And for what? Like, what competitive advantage are you getting? I think you're putting yourself at a competitive disadvantage. And the Browns were looking like they were going to go down that path, but it seems like they decided not to. And I hope that that's right, because I think that that's one of the silliest trends that coaches partake in. Coaches act like they got government secrets out there, right? When they're just running smash, dog. Like, that shit's in Madden. People know what smash is. Like, And you ain't fooling nobody. This is a West Coast offense. You are running the same 12 passing concepts. Like, the Browns run like mesh with the ball route over. It's like 93 A's. They run that stuff so often, and then they act like they have to be all secretive during the week. I'm like, you run this play 10 times a game, and you throw the ball route to David Njoku every time. What are we hiding from the public? You think Baltimore don't know this? I know this. It's one of my pet peeves with teams, but I'm glad they're not doing that. And so far, so good with the Browns offseason. I think they've handled some pretty drastic things well. Looks like Myles is in good spirits with the team. Seems like that whole contract fiasco was years ago, but it really was months ago. They seem to feel good about these rookies. Right now, there's a limited amount of things you can prove and feel good about, but those things that you can see, I'm happy about. So that's why I have an overall positive tone right now about the Cleveland Browns. Do I think they'll be over 500? Probably not. Offensive consistency is going to still be a problem, especially if they don't have somebody emerge as the starting quarterback in camp. But I think they'll be a fun team. I think they'll be a team worth watching every Sunday, and I think they'll be a team that you could be proud of when you watch them, right? And that's my hope. Whatever that brings you win-loss wise, we'll see. But y'all let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.